Luke 6, verse 34. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. He also told them this parable. Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a pit? The student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, Brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. No good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is recognized by its own fruit. People do not pick figs from thorn bushes or grapes from briars. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. An evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Lord Jesus Christ, my mouth speaks of and have spoken and still speak of things that are not pure as you are pure, Lord. Cleanse me, Lord. Have mercy on me, Lord. I ask for your grace and your mercy and your love, Lord, if I may, Lord. I pray this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? As for everyone who comes to me and hears my words and puts them into practice, I will show you what they are like. They are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid the foundation on rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck that house but could not shake it, because it was well built. But the one who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. The moment the torrent struck that house, it collapsed, and its destruction was complete. Luke 7, verse 9. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him. He turned to the crowd following him and said, I tell you, I have not found such great faith, even in Israel. And then I want to read a section that's not the direct words of the Lord Jesus Christ, but it's just one of my favorite parts of the Bible. Luke 7, verse 11 onwards. Soon afterward, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And a large crowd from the town was with her. I think it's proper to give some context to this, because in our modern society we often see a widow and we feel sorry for widows, but you know, they can go off and do their day jobs, whether they be accountants or secretaries or teachers or administrative staff or anything really. But I think back in Jesus' day, most of the day wages were paid for skills and for labor. And so wages were paid for farming, wages were paid for smiths, wages were paid to gatekeepers, to guards and soldiers, wages were paid to tradesmen. And so it's hard to think back to a time when women really were at the bottom rung of society. I mean, it's not even I believe 100 years ago when women first gained the right to vote. In some countries they pay different tax rates to men within the last 100 years. I mean, and if you think about it, some countries within the last 10 years or 20 years, women were still not allowed to drive, for example. And so, if we go back to this account of a widow, so she's lost her husband, and she has now lost her only son. That means that in all likelihood that was as close to a death penalty as you could find, or at least she was doomed to a life of poverty. And none of us, perhaps I shouldn't speak for all of us, but I know that I cannot imagine how afraid she must have been. I don't believe in those days it was like it was today, where we could help other people as readily and as easily as you could help someone today. It was much closer to a subsistence existence, and so other families could not necessarily step up and help widows